Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting for everybody to join our meeting, our webinar tonight. I can see you're ticking across now all the registrations. So it's just hit 6 o'clock. So we'll be starting in probably about 30 seconds. We've got quite a number of people attending tonight, and I can see you all ticking over and coming into the webinar from the waiting room. So just bear with us a moment and we'll be starting shortly. Okay, I think we're all there. So welcome. Thank you for attending tonight's Australian Catholic Super webinar on retirement planning. My name is Justin Colley. I'm the Business Development Manager at Australian Catholic Super. Tonight, I'm presenting with Boris Testovich. Boris is one of our financial planners, and Boris is in his home office. Good evening, Boris.
Good evening, Justin. Thanks for the invite.
It's good to have you along, Boris. And tonight we're going to talk to you about the fund, how the fund's performing. What you do to get money into superannuation, how you can transfer that money over to an allocated pension. Talk about how the allocated pension works, and then we'll also talk about Centrelink. We'll also have questions, and you'll see on this webinar that you have the facility to answer questions through a Q&A box, or you can also send us messages through the chat facility. I'll be monitoring that, as well as one of my colleagues, Paul Lynch, who's in our Brisbane office today. This evening, he'll may ask questions, or I can also see them coming through as well. So Paul's basically there for backup in case we have any technical issues there. So we would normally come to you through a seminar face-to-face, and we like to do those, but obviously how things are evolving around Australia with COVID, it's highly unlikely we'll be doing face-to-face seminars, especially in New South Wales, for any time soon. I'm actually in my home office in Sydney, and Boris is coming to you from Wollongong. So I also should mention that this session has also been live streamed on Facebook, so you can go back at any time and watch a replay of this webinar if you so wish as well. So before we start tonight, we'd like to do a welcome to country. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land which I work and live, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. I pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. So before I start any webinar or seminar, we're required to give a disclaimer. So essentially, we like to say this is just to cover us, to make sure that everything that Boris and I say is of a general nature. We don't take into account anybody's personal circumstances. Should you want personal advice, that's when we suggest that you contact a licensed financial planner, such as Boris. And Boris works out of our Sydney office, but sees people throughout New South Wales and also in some other states as well. But we've got financial planners available to you around Australia in our offices, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. Now, many of you would have heard Australian Catholic Super is merging with NGS Super. So we're very excited about that. We're still probably another 6 to 8 months away from that actually happening. We've done all the comprehensive due diligence, and all the finer details have been nutted out at the moment. And hopefully later in this year, we'll be able to come back to you and give you the finer details of how the merger will happen, how your accounts will be consolidated and so on. But essentially, we came about this merger because there's been a lot of competition in the industry. There's been a lot of regulatory pressures on superannuation funds to merge since the Royal Commission. And when we were looking for merger partners, NGS was really the perfect fit. They a very similar fund. They specialise in the education field, and very similar demographics to Australian Catholic Super. When we come together, we'll be about a $23 billion fund, so quite a large fund representing over 200,000 members. So this will, a lot of people have asked us, will this affect our linkage to the Catholic Church? It certainly won't. NGS has very strong linkage to the Catholic Church through a lot of their Catholic private schools throughout Australia, and also through the Catholic Fund in South Australia, which they already looked after. So it will actually strengthen our linkage to the church throughout Australia. So, as I said, we'll be in touch and update you on how the merger is progressing later in the year. Now, Boris, many people have many different retirement goals when they're approaching retirement. They want to do travel and family time. I guess you see many people each year through your role as representing the fund as a financial planner, and many of those members come to you with different retirement objectives and goals and what they want to achieve in retirement, and really put their faith in you on how they're going to fund those retirement goals. Do you want to have a bit of a chat about what some of those goals are for the members?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Justin. Look, the starting point is that everybody is different. And I know it sounds obvious, but everybody truly is different. For some people, the idea of the retirement is that they'll finally have enough time to do everything that they didn't have time to do before. So travel is very high on the agenda, cruising, camping, gardening, theatre. For some people, it's the spending more time with the family, spending time with their kids or grandkids, or even helping their elderly parents. Interestingly enough, I've been told by quite a few of my clients recently that they've delayed retirement because they are unable to travel now. So travel seems to feature very high on the agenda for a lot of people that I see, but obviously everybody would have different goals in the retirement.
No, I certainly do, don't they, Boris? And when you come to fund that retirement, it's really everybody's got different ideas of how much you will need. I know ASFA do a comprehensive survey a couple of times a year to work out how much you'll need for a modest lifestyle and a comfortable lifestyle, which we all want to achieve, and also compare that back to the age pension. Did you want to go through those amounts, please?
Absolutely. So asking people how much they need to live on comfortably, it's a very difficult question, because a lot of times we haven't thought about it. We haven't thought how much money do we need to live on comfortably. So to help us with the starting point, and again, I'll say that everybody's different, so these figures may be different for different people, but to help us come up to some figures in terms of how much is enough to be comfortable in the retirement, ASFA does the quarterly research, and they come up with about $44,000 that's needed for a single person, and about $62,500 for couples. Now, they say and they recognize that not everybody gets to have comfortable retirement once they retire. So they have the second standard, which is the modest standard. So for modest lifestyle, they anticipate that singles would need about $28,000 per year and couples a little bit less than $41,000. Now, when we look back at what is the maximum amount of age pension that we can get, we can see that singles get a little bit less than $25,000 in a year and couples about $37,000. So we can see that maximum rates of age pension are actually not enough to provide for that modest lifestyle, let alone comfortable lifestyle. This is why it is important that we have savings to help us have as comfortable retirement as we possibly can have.
Thanks, Boris. And there's a full listing on the ASFA website, which is at superannuation.asn.au. If you look for their retirement standard, it will tell you the full breakup of what you need for a comfortable lifestyle as opposed to a modest lifestyle. I'm just looking at one of them, and I like, for a comfortable lifestyle, you can afford a good bottle of wine. For a modest lifestyle, it's a cask wine, and the age pension, it's the home brew. So we all want to achieve those comfortable and good things in life. So we really recommend that you come and look at the ASFA website to see what you would need for that comfortable lifestyle, but also chat to Boris and his team to see how that comfortable lifestyle can be achieved. I've noticed a few people have come on to the webinar since we've started. So I did say at the start, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to put them through to the chat facility or the question and answer box on the bottom of the webinar. And Boris and I will answer those at the end. I am monitoring those as we do go through. So if there's a question that we're asked as we're on that particular slide, I'll ask Boris the question. Otherwise, we'll hold off most of the questions until the very end. So Boris, when you have a chat to members when they come in to talk about their financial situation and what they want to achieve to fund those wonderful things like travel and holidays and so on, what sort of things do you look at for their financial situation?
Yes, so we do take into account the holistic view of one's financial situation. So just the fact that we work for super fund doesn't mean that we only take super into account. We would look at members' overall holistic situation and would take into account any cash that they may have or term deposits, any shares that they might have, investment properties, obviously the super account being the second largest asset for most people that we see. And the family home recently has become a very lucrative way to add the funds for your retirement, which we'll discuss in a few minutes' time as well.
Yeah, that's a very good opportunity there with the home downsizer, which I know you're going to discuss, as you said. But there are many tax benefits to invest in superannuation and also beyond when you do retire. Such as 15% tax on superannuation investment earnings. But did you want to touch on all the there?
Absolutely. So it's not just because I work for the super fund that I'm biased towards the super. Super has a massive tax benefit comparing to any of the other investment options we see outside of super. For example, earnings in super are taxed at maximum of 15%, maximum rate of 15%. If you compare that to marginal tax rate, it's quite a substantial saving. If you have transition to retirement, that is also taxed at maximum 15%. And once you have retired and moved your money to allocate a pension account, then there is absolutely no tax whatsoever. So it's a bit like living in a tax-free country, if you will.
Thanks, Boris. Boris, just had a comment through the chat box. I've got one comment. Can I just ask you just to pull the microphone out a bit, just so you can, just members are having difficulty hearing you, just to come through that microphone. And also had a question, if you change agency, so if you change employer or had a reduction in working hours, is your super always protected and followed through with you? So I guess followed to different organisations, and I presume the way the question's phrased, different church agencies, is it followed through?
Look, I'm assuming the question is about can you change the employer and still keep Australian Catholic Super Fund? And the answer is yes. The super fund is portable. You can work for any agency, any employer, and still keep your Australian Catholic Super Fund or any other super fund for that matter. There is only a handful of jobs where you don't have a choice of super. One of those jobs is working in tertiary education for universities, where given fund is uni-super. People working for universities have no choice of super at this point in time, and also people working in state system in South Australia don't have choice of super. They have to put their money in super SA. But there is nothing preventing you from keeping multiple super funds if that's what you want.
Thanks, Boris, and hopefully that answers the lady's question. Now, Boris, when you come to fund your superannuation through superannuation, it really depends on the age, I guess, of when and how you fund that retirement. So people aged 58 to 59, you can fund that retirement when you're fully retire. So you have to complete a statutory declaration. Is that right, Boris? And,
that's correct. So often people would say, Justin, that they have to work till they're 67 or 65 in order to access their super. That's not quite correct. You can retire at 58 and access your super. Difference being that once you access your super at 58 and 59, there could be some tax consequences associated with the withdrawal from the super fund. Once you're age 60, if you retired, or if you moved employer, if you moved from Diocese of Wollongong to Diocese of Sydney, you can access your super then. And at 65, you could still be fully employed and access your super if you wanted to. Difference being that once you're 60 and over, there is absolutely no tax whatsoever once you take money out of super.
That's a great incentive. And I remember not long ago, actually, it was a face-to-face seminar, so it was actually probably more than 18 months ago, that I remember heard age 65, you can still be working, get access to your superannuation. They wanted to cash in a small lump sum just to pay off the small bit of mortgage that they had left. So they were mortgage free and still planned on, still, as far as I know, still working well into their 60s now and late 60s and still contributing salary sacrificing to super.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very popular strategy once you reach age of 65 to access some part of your super in order to repay your debt.
Now, the government encourage you to be self-funded retirees and they want you to put money away to superannuation. So they give you tax incentives to do it. And the biggest incentive would be through salary sacrifice. So when you salary sacrifice through to superannuation, you're only paying tax at 15% as opposed to your marginal rate. So we've got the tax scales up here, and the first 18,200, you pay no tax at all. So it wouldn't be wise to salary sacrifice because you'd be paying tax on money you wouldn't need to pay tax on. You could quite simply put that in as a post-tax contribution. If you earn 18,200 to $45,000, the marginal rate is 19%. So in effect, you're only going to be paying tax at 4%. Most Australians, though, would be on a salary of 45,000 to 120,000 at a marginal rate of 32.5 cents. So that's automatically a tax saving there of 17.5% to salary sacrifice. And if you earn more than 120,000, the tax savings could be 22%, or even as high as 30% if you're up in the highest tax bracket. Boris, we've got an example here of a salary sacrifice for somebody earning $100,000. Do you want to run through how that works?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So to demonstrate the benefits of salary sacrificing, we can compare the instances where a same person that earns $100,000 per year salary sacrifice 5% of their salary and makes no salary sacrifice contributions at all. So if you look at the left column on your screens, a person that's on $100,000 per year that is not salary sacrificing is having a fortnightly income of $3,846 before tax. Because there is no extra contributions, tax payable on that is about $1,000, which gives you about $2,884 a fortnight that you take home. Person that salary sacrifice 5%, salary sacrifice is $192 per fortnight. That then reduces taxable income to $3,653, which also means that there is less money coming to the bank account. You get about $2,757, which is a difference of only $127. So if you look at the differences, you are putting $192 into super per fortnight, but you are only seeing a difference in your bank account of $127. That means you're saving $66 every fortnight of tax. And if you are doing that for 10 years, that saving is about $17,000. That's a nice byproduct of contributing money into super, but even better benefit is obviously that your super grows at an accelerated rate.
It certainly is, Brian. So when you even nut it out even a bit more, that $127 difference works out to be about $9 a day that's costing you to put that $192 a fortnight into super.
It's not much, is it?
No, so 2 coffees maybe, if you try and break it down that way.
Yeah.
So it's certainly worthwhile. And I know a strategy that a lot of people like to do is when they're getting a pay increase, to forfeit the pay increase. So if you're getting a 2% pay increase, just put that 2% straight into super as salary sacrifice. That way you're not even noticing the difference. So that's a good strategy a lot of people do as well, and might do that a couple of times during when they get pay rises, just to build up to that 5% as well, especially when you're young and you don't notice it as much. Now, there are limits though, Boris, on how much you can put in as far as concessional contributions go. And concessional contributions are essentially your employer contributions, which is the superannuation guarantee. So the 10% that your employer now puts in, it was 9.5%, and just recently went to 10% in July, as well as any salary sacrifice contributions, any employer additional contributions that you may be eligible for, and any personal deductible contributions. The maximum amount you can put in though of those amounts combined is $27,500 from this financial year. Again, that amount has just gone up as well from $25,000. So if you can afford to put up to the contribution cap, it's obviously a very good way of building your superannuation up, lowering tax and so on. There are what we call non-concessional contributions as well, and those limits are much higher. And when I tell these limits, when I see people face to face, so it's very hard to do when I say these virtually. Most people have a bit of a smirk when I say that the non-concessional contributions are $110,000 a year, or $330,000 up front and nothing for the next 3 years. Most people think, well, where am I going to get that sort of money to put that money into super? What that amount is designed for is for people who may come into some inheritance prior to retiring, want to put that money into super. They may sell some investment properties, other types of investments. They may want to top their superannuation up with savings that they've got. That's why the amounts are quite high there. Once you turn 67 though, excuse me, the voice is going, I apologise. Once you turn 67 though, and between 67 and 74, you can still put $110,000 in, but you need to meet a work test. Once you meet the work test, that you can put money into superannuation. I've just noticed Boris has dropped off. I'm not too sure what's happened there. I know Paul's in the background. You might be able to try and call him, Paul. But 67, between 67 and 74, your amount is $110,000 and a work test applies. That work simply says that once you July comes around, you work for 40 hours over 30 consecutive days, you're eligible to put money into superannuation for the remainder of that financial year. Once you turn 75 though, you're not eligible to put money into superannuation anymore. So essentially between under 67, no work test, you can put money in $110,000 or 3 years worth, 330,000, and between ages 67 and 74, you need to meet that work test, and from 75, you can't put any money. Sorry, I've got a bit distracted there. It seems like we've lost Boris during this during that slide. So hopefully he's able to dial back in. He may be having some technical issues, but that's not an issue. So the other ways to contribute is through a downsizer contribution. So if you've got the downsizer contribution, and that was brought in probably about 2 years ago now. It's for people aged over 65 who may sell their primary residence, and you can put money into superannuation. So you can put up to 300,000 of that into superannuation as a downsizer contribution. So we know what the property prices are like. It's a good way of topping up your superannuation if you plan on downsizing your home. You can also put in spouse contributions as well. So those spouse contributions you might want to put in for a spouse. Your spouse may be a low income earner, and if you put in a $3,000 contribution for your spouse who earns less than $10,200, you can get a $520 tax rebate. And the other good way of putting money into superannuation or bringing your money together is through consolidation. Once you've got other superannuation funds, and many Australians have multiple superannuation funds, you can consolidate your super by rolling it all over and keeping it all together. Once you've got all your superannuation together, it's easy to keep track of. You've only got one fund to deal with. One thing I would just say there, some other funds may have insurance benefits that go with those funds. So if you've got insurance benefits, you may want to consider rolling those across first and adding those to what you've got with Australian Catholic Super first. It's quite easy to consolidate your super. You can do it through the MyGov app on your phone. And if you log on to the ATO section of MyGov, click into superannuation, it will show all your superannuation funds, and then you can choose Australian Catholic Super as your primary account, and then you can roll the money across from there. You can also call the call centre, the Australian Catholic Super, and we can do it for you as well. We just need to have a voice recording for security purposes. So how can you access your superannuation? You can access your superannuation through two ways. One is through a combination of these two ways. One is through a lump sum. So if you wanted to take a lump sum out to put money into superannuation, you can certainly do that. And I think we've got Boris back now, so which is good. So if you make a lump sum, or so you can receive a lump sum, you can take out all your money in superannuation. Depending on what age you do that, if you do it before age 60, there may be tax implications there for you. After 60, it's all tax-free. And then, or you can take an income stream. And when you take an income stream, that's what we're going to get into now, is through an allocated pension. And then you can receive your pension on a regular basis. And we'll talk about those pensions in a moment. So we lost you there for a moment, Boris. I was running solo for the last few slides.
My apologies, Justin. I'm not quite sure what happened.
Not a problem. Good to have you back. So, sorry to a few people. I was a bit distracted on one of those slides, seeing what was happening there, but it's good we've got Boris back. So, moving your money into superannuation from the allocated pension. Sorry, let me put that back to front. Moving your superannuation over to the allocated pension. First of all, you've got to have all your superannuation together. So all those personal contributions have to be made to that super account. All those employer contributions have to be made. Any lump sum payments you want to put in there, as well as any government co-contributions that you may be eligible for. If you're rolling money over from other superannuation funds, if you're making use of that downsizer contribution that I spoke about, they all need to be in your superannuation account first. And then obviously all the investment earnings that it's making up in the day we roll the money over. Once you start a pension, you can't add to it. Once you start a pension, you'll have your regular pension payments come out of that, and they'll be a regular pension payment, and you choose the frequency of that, whether it's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, or yearly. And you can also take out any lump sums along the way. And then the only money going in would obviously be the investment earnings it makes along the way. So Bryce, did you just want to go through the next flow chart of how that works then?
Yeah, so it's a very good summary of what you've just done there, Justin. The only way you can have money in pension environment is to have that money in super environment first. And the best way to contribute to grow your super is to make those contributions to your super fund, whether they are pre-tax, which are non-concessional contributions, or post-tax, which are non-concessional contributions. There are other types of contributions you can make, such as downsizer contributions, spouse contributions, etc. That money being invested in your super grows. Once you come to the retirement point or turn 65 years of age, you transfer that money into pension environment. And from this pension environment, you basically are taking money out on a regular basis, be it on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, or yearly basis. Pensions, benefit of having a pension is, like I said, it's almost like living in a tax-free country. It doesn't pay any tax on the earnings that it makes. And if you're over 60 years of age and you take pension payments out, there is no tax whatsoever. In addition to that, you can take the lump sum withdrawals that are tax-free if you're over 60. The only caveat there is that you have to take a minimum amount from the account each year, and that minimum amount depends on your age.
Right, thanks, Boris. At Australian Catholic Super, we offer two types of income streams or allocated pensions. It's the RetireChoice allocated pension and the RetireSmart pension. My slide's not changing over, Boris. Oh, here we go. Would you like to go through how they both work, please?
Yeah, so the RetireChoice gives you the ultimate control of how you want to invest your money. So you can invest it in any option that we have, and you can choose how you take money out of this account. So we have 13 investment options. If you have a RetireChoice account, you can choose any of those options or a combination of options, and you can nominate which option you're taking money out of, or you can nominate to take money out in proportions. So it's a very flexible account. As I said previously, the only requirement that is legislative requirement with the pension is that there is a minimum amount you have to take, and there is no maximum amounts. Our other offering is simplified version called RetireSmart. RetireSmart is basically a simpler version of the pension environment where you don't choose where money is invested. It's invested in two investments. One is called cash, the other one is called growth. And the cash bucket is the one where your pension gets paid out of, and the growth bucket is designed to give you some growth so your account lasts for as long as it's possible.
Sorry about that, yes. So they're the buckets there, how that works. So another important factor for our people who are approaching retirement, Boris, is the age pension and qualifying for the age pension, because there's a number of different criteria there to receive the age pension. Did you just want to touch on those, please? Yeah, so the first requirement is that you are of right age, and we'll see those age limits in a minute. And if you're of right age and a resident, then what Centrelink does is they look at your assets and your income, and based on those tests, they determine your payment rates that you might be eligible for. So the ages, qualifying ages for age pension depend on your birth date. If you are born between January 1, 54 and June 30, 55, your qualifying age for age pension is 66 years of age. For next 18 months, from July 155 to December 30, 156, it's 66 and a half years of age. And for everyone that's born after January 157, it's 67 years of age. So the first thing is you have to get to those ages. Second thing is you have to be the resident. And then Centrelink looks at two tests. First test is called asset test. Asset test is different for homeowner and a non-homeowner, and it's different for a single person and couples. So for single homeowners, you can have anywhere up to $270,000 worth of assets, excluding your family home. So anywhere up to $270,000 worth of assets and still get full age pension. If you have more than that, but less than $588,000, you get part age pension. And if you have more than $588,000, then you don't get any age pension. For couples we have, couples can have more, obviously. So couples that are homeowners can have up to $405,000 in their assets and still get full age pension. If they have between $405,000 and $884,000, they will get part age pension. And anything above that, there is no age pension. And the non-homeowners have higher limits.
because obviously they would have to pay rent and they need greater assets for that. So
Thanks,
as you can see, sorry, Justin, as you can see, you can still have quite a large amount of assets and still get something from Centrelink.
Thanks, Bryce. I know a question we often get asked about, does your superannuation count to those assets?
So superannuation counts as an asset if you are of pension age. So if you are 67 and your qualifying age is 67, then your super will count as an asset. But if you're a member of a couple where one person is older than the other partner, then whatever's in a super for that younger partner may not be calculated as an asset.
And Boris, just as you're answering that, a question did come in about the home as well. Is that an asset?
A family home is not an asset. So you can have a family home that's worth $3 million and it's not calculated as an asset because it's not an income producing asset that you have.
Great, thanks, Boris. We'll move on to the income test.
Income test. So the second test that Centrelink looks at is income test. An income test is basically casual work, part-time work, or any deemed income that your financial assets can get. So again, the test differs for single to couples. Single person can earn up to $180 a fortnight and get full age pension. Then if they earn anywhere between $180 a fortnight and about $2,100 a fortnight, you get part age pension. And if you earn more than that, then you don't get any age pension. So a single person can earn up to $54,000 and still get the age pension, basically. And couple can earn about $8,300 in a fortnight per year and still get full age pension. And they can earn up to $83,000 in a year and get part age pension. Whichever one of these two tests, asset and income test, produces lower result is the result that Centrelink will use in determining what the eligible rate of pension is.
So there are quite generous rates there, Boris. And I'll just go back to the assets test because a question did come in as well, just as we started the income test. What are some examples of assets? And I know that your car would be an asset. You said your superannuation. Do you want to go through?
If you're of age pension age, your super is an asset. If you have an investment property, it's an asset. If that investment property has debt, then the net value of that investment property is an asset. Any cash that you may have in your bank accounts is an asset. Shares, it's an asset. If you gifted more than $10,000 in a year, then that is also calculated as an asset. So there are a number of things that are calculated as assets. Basically, your home is excluded asset and everything else could be an asset.
All the furniture inside your home's an asset. I know a lot of people say, oh, I've got it insured for X, but it's really not the insured value too, which is really important for our members to understand. It's what would happen if you had to push all that furniture in your house onto your front lawn on Saturday and have a garage sale. What's the garage sale value of those assets? And the same with your motor vehicle too. You might have a 2-year-old car that you paid brand new $40,000 for. It's not valued at $40,000 anymore. We know what depreciation of cars are like. It's what you would get if you were to sell that asset tomorrow.
Correct. So it's not what you insure in the car for, it's the market value of the similar car. And for contents, Centrelink allows for a value of $5,000 for singles and $10,000 for couples to be calculated as the contents value.
So again, that's very generous as well.
Yeah.
Now, the payment rates, I think we touched on that very early, how much the age pension is, but did you just want to go through those ones?
The singles, as we said previously, singles can get a little bit less than $25,000 in a year. Couples, a bit more than $37,000 in a year between two of them. And if they're separated by ill health, then they can each get $24,770 in a year. So this is applicable for people that where one partner is in the same nursing home.
Great. And if you don't qualify for the age pension, there's a Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare card, Boris. It's very attractive for a lot of our members who try and get this as well, because it's not asset tested. Is that right?
Absolutely. So if you are fortunate enough not to qualify for age pension because you have assets, or unfortunate, depends how you look at it, then you can qualify for Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare card. And the only requirements here are that you are resident and that you meet an income test. And income for singles, it's $55,500 and a bit more than $89,000 for couples. So again, quite generous income test for people to qualify for seniors healthcare card here.
Great. And one important aspect of financial planning is really thinking about members' estates as well. Did you want to touch on that, please, Boris?
Yeah, so important thing to understand is that some assets are subject to wills and some assets are subject to beneficiary nominations. So estate assets are your house, your bank accounts, shares, etc. That is subject to will. So it's important to have the up-to-date will in place so that you ensure that the people you want to get your assets do get those assets when time comes. Your super, on the other hand, is a non-estate assets. That's why you have to have those beneficiary nominations. And for people that want to give eligible family members opportunity and the right to act on their behalf, there are powers of attorney. So, for example, if you have an enduring power of attorney, you can make decisions on behalf of your relative, and this particularly is important for people when they are about to go into aged care accommodation.
Great. And we just touched on aged care, and we also offer planning for aged care too, Boris.
We do. Look, nobody comes to see us because they're planning to become a carer for their elderly parent or a spouse member. Unfortunately, it is the fact of life. Sometimes people do get in aged care. So we do offer the service where we help our members find out the best way to fund the aged care accommodation. Basically, what we try to do is we try to maximize any Centrelink entitlements, minimize the fees associated with aged care, and maximize the estate benefits to the beneficiaries for people who are going into aged care.
Thanks, Boris. And we're coming towards the end of our presentation this evening, and we've got about 4 or 5 questions in the chat box that still haven't been answered yet. One or two that I've just noticed that I've missed as we've gone through the particular topic, which we'll get to at the end. But if you've got any questions, please put those in the chat box or the Q&A, and we'll answer those shortly. But Boris, how can a planner assist our members of Australian Catholic Super maximise their retirement?
Well, there are a number of ways we can assist our members, and obviously people who are not our members, we can assist them as well. But we can help you save money for your retirement. We can help you maximize Centrelink benefits. We can give you estimates of how long your money will last in your retirement. We can look at your goals, short, medium, long-term goals. We could look at the estate planning and see how we can maximize what your children may be able to get. And we could look at any non-super investments for people that may be too young to invest in super.
And the value of advice is really both tangible, so you can actually see the value by the piece of advice that's given to our members. They might say, well, I'm going to save X amount, like we show in the salary sacrifice example, but it can also be intangible as well. Did you want to touch on that?
That's absolutely right. So Benefits in some cases will be very tangible. It'll be, you will save $2,000 worth of tax each year. You will minimize the fees you pay by X amount of dollars. But also the benefits will be intangible, because people who do have a plan often get the peace of mind, basically knowing that they can afford to retire when they choose to retire, and they can have the peace of mind in knowing that they can afford to have the lifestyle in retirement that they want. On the other hand, if they cannot afford those goals, well, we can design the options, we can design the strategies that can get them as close as possible to those goals. So it is quite beneficial to have a plan going into the retirement.
Thanks, Boris. And we offer a number of different ways, or 3 ways that members can receive financial advice. And the first one is general advice, and I'll touch on that one, which is essentially where we can give you general information about your account. So that's where I can help you in my role as a business development manager, and our regional managers can assist you with that. Our call centre can assist with general advice. And general advice would be if you want to know what your balance is, what your beneficiaries are, which investment option you're in. Once you say, Justin, I'm a bit worried about the investment markets at the moment. Should I put all my money into cash? Or I see there's opportunities in the share market. Should I jump into shares? That's when I'd be giving you advice if I was to answer that question. And I would then say, well, that's something you need to talk to our over-the-phone advice guys or comprehensive team about. Boris, did you want to touch on what both the over-the-phone advice does and also the comprehensive, please?
Thanks, Justin. So we do recognise that our members have different needs. For some people, it is a very simple need, as you said, advice about the investment choice, or maybe salary sacrifice advice, or even how much insurance to have in their super. So people who are interested in those single topic advice items, we can offer that advice free of charge over the phone. If you require a little bit more than that, if you require comprehensive advice, you want to see how long your money is going to last, what are strategies that you can utilize to maximize your retirement, etc., then you're probably better off seeing one of our comprehensive advisors. The way we operate comprehensive advice is that our first meeting is always free, because at that point in time, we don't know whether we can assist anyone. Once we had that meeting, we discuss ways and options, how we can help you, and then we will give you the idea of how much that advice would cost. You're obviously not obliged to do anything that you don't want to. There is no obligation to proceed with the advice if you don't think that's the right thing for you.
Great, thanks, Boris. And you'll notice in the chat box for our members out there that I've actually put a link through there. So if you wanted to get that general advice or over the phone advice or comprehensive, you can quite simply click on that link, just put your name and contact details in there and what level of advice you would like, and someone from the fund will be in contact with you in the next day or so to assist you with whatever you've asked for, whether it's over the phone advice, comprehensive, or that general information. Will reach out and answer those questions for you. Now, again, my machine doesn't want to change slides on me, unfortunately, but anyway, we've got there now. So we're coming to an end now, and as I said, I just wanted to touch on to get those questions in, but I just wanted to touch on our member portal, which is a really good option for our members to jump on and look at their own account. So if you get onto your members online account, you can see what your balance is today and how the investments are performing. You can see how much your accounts moved. You can see all your contributions that have come in from your employer and make sure that they're still coming in on a fortnightly or monthly or quarterly basis, depending on the frequency that your employer pays them. You can change your investment options on the portal. You can also do your own predictions there as well. There's a calculator there that we like to call Raptor, which is a retirement adequacy projector tool. And you can put in your own information there, or it's already there for you. And you can say how many more years you've got to retirement. It will do a projection of what your likely balance would be when that retirement does come. You can nominate your beneficiaries on our website. You can also make contributions through there as well. There's many other things that you can do on our members portal. So please log on there. And if you're having any issues logging on, you can also call our call centre on 1300 658 776, and they're more than happy to assist you and give you access details and so on. So if you need to contact the fund, it's quite easy to do so. Our call centre is available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And when there's daylight saving in New South Wales or some of the eastern states, they're also there till 8 o'clock to make sure that they're there till 5 o'clock for our friends over in WA who are listening tonight. They're also there on a Saturday between 9 and 5. So if you've come in from mowing the lawns on a Saturday morning and think that superannuation question needs to be answered, you can call our call centre and they'll be there to answer it for you. You can also find a lot of the information that Boris and I have spoken about today at catholicsuper.com.au. And you can also email us directly at fundoffice@catholicsuper.com.au, and we can reply to those emails. So as I mentioned before, we've got a number of questions that have come through, and I'm looking at my other screen here so I can answer them. So I'll just go to those now, Boris. And the first one goes back to the assets test, and is what size rural property containing a residence is an asset?
From memory, I think it's about 2 acres land size around the rural property that's exempt, and everything else is possibly considered as an asset.
Okay. The next one is I am 59 and have resigned at the end of June 2021. In my position, therefore, I'm not contributing to Australian Catholic Super. I have a self-managed super fund with my husband. What are my options? I also wish to keep my insurance. I'm currently not working.
You can keep Australian Catholic Super Fund and self-managed super fund, even if you're not contributing to Australian Catholic Super Fund. It's a usually good idea to make some contributions so your insurance premiums do not erode your balance. You can make those after-tax contributions, or if you're still employed and you have some kind of income, perhaps making some of the personal deductible contributions could be good. But I'd suggest that a meeting with one of our advisors may be a good idea for you.
Great, thanks, Boris. And Boris, still around the Centrelink, this one's around that seniors healthcare card and the eligibility.
Yeah.
Is your super income stream assessed as income?
Yes and no. No, in terms of that income you receive is not calculated dollar for dollar. What Centrelink does for super income, they use deeming rates. So it's an arbitrary figure that they use that they determine on every 6 months. So for first $55,000 of your super, they would say that money earns you 1%, and everything above that it earns 2.75%. So it's what they call deemed income, not the actual income that you get.
Great, thanks, Boris. The next question is, what is the best age to access your super with most benefits?
The best age to access the super is when you need to access it. I like to say that 65 is the magical year, because at 65 there is no restrictions. You can access it. You can do whatever you want with it. Obviously, some options are better than the others. But again, I would suggest that it may be a good idea to seek advice from one of our planners. Just one more thing to say before we run out of questions. I really apologize for dropping out early on. So please ask any questions. I don't want anyone to miss out on anything.
Thanks, Boris. Yeah, it was. We're lucky to get you back so quickly, though. So it was quite good, and unfortunately, it wasn't through the financial planning section. So no, glad to get you back. Though I was relieved. I was a bit distracted there for one of those slides, trying to work out what was happening, whether it was my end or not, and whether it was still online. But that's great. The next question, and it's a bit of a long one, is I am 65 years old and earlier this year withdrew and closed my pension account as I was looking to downsize and purchase my own small 2-bedroom home. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, the sale did not go through. The money is still sitting in an e-reward saver, earning little interest. My question is to the panel is, can I open another pension-based account with Australian Catholic Super and deposit this money back into it? I still work full-time and intend to work for another 4 years at least.
Well, the fortunate thing there is that the government has in June, just before this financial year started, decided that people up to age of 67 can contribute money into super. So if you have some money sitting in your bank account that's doing nothing, it is possible to contribute some money into the super account and then start the allocated pension. Again, I would urge that you seek advice from a qualified planner before you do anything.
And the other thing, this lady is based in our Brisbane office, Boris, and I seeing a message from Paul that she knows Paul. It's probably best that she contacts Paul and Paul can assist and put her in touch with the local planner in Brisbane. So, which is great.
We've got a couple of award-winning planners in our Brisbane office. So.
And that was probably something we forgot to touch on really too, didn't we? Because we've got a few planners in Brisbane, 3 planners in Brisbane and 2 over in Perth as well. So we've got a number of planners, as well as our planners based in Burwood in Sydney. So we've got quite a number of planners who can assist around Australia. And we're not actually seeing people face to face at the moment, obviously, but there's plenty of Zoom calls and Teams meetings going on for those meetings still to proceed. Now, Boris, this is health care card one as well.
Yeah.
Is the seniors health care card only for over 67?
You have to be of age pension age, so it depends what your date of birth is. But if you would otherwise qualify for age pension, but you don't because of your assets, then you can potentially qualify for seniors healthcare card through the income test.
Great. I can see a few comments coming through to thank us for our presentation tonight. So thank you for those people who've thanked Boris and I. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Very
We
gracious.
really appreciate the feedback. And one thing I forgot to mention also is that I'll be sending out a survey later on this evening and an email thank you for attending tonight. Please complete that survey to allow us to improve these webinars and the content that our members want. So any comments, please put them in those in the feedback survey there. And so again, if you've got any questions, we've still got 2 more to answer. But if you've got any last minute questions, please put those through and Boris and I will answer those. But the next question is, are adult beneficiaries required to pay tax on any benefits received on death as a benefactor?
The answer could possibly be a little bit complicated, but I'll try my best to make it as easy as possible. So your super account would have a couple of different components, and the adult beneficiaries will get everything tax-free that comes from that tax-free component. If you have money in what's called a taxable component, then there is a tax of 15% plus Medicare levy to adult beneficiaries. The best way to determine which component is which is any after-tax money you've contributed becomes tax-free component, and any salary sacrifice and employer contributions are typically your taxable components. In most cases, there is a tax to adult beneficiaries, yes.
Great, thanks, Boris. And the last question that I have so far, unless one sneaks in whilst you're answering this one, is there an upper limit on how much I can contribute before tax each year? I'm over 60.
Well, the limit is $27,500 without being penalised. You can contribute any amount above that, but you will pay heavy penalties. So regardless of your age, you can contribute maximum amount of $27,500 and get the tax benefit.
Great, thanks, Boris. Well, that brings an end to our questions. So I just want to thank our members for coming online tonight to listen to our webinar. Boris and I really appreciate your support, and thank you for coming online. As I mentioned, a survey will be coming out to you later this evening. Please complete that. There's also the link that I sent through in the chat box if you wanted to contact Boris or one of the team for further information. You can complete that link. Also, there'll be a link in the email that comes out with the survey later on this evening. I'd like to thank Paul in the background for monitoring the survey and questions and so on. And Boris, I'd like to thank you for presenting with me tonight as well. So
thank you, Justin. And likewise, I'd like to thank everyone. And once again, please accept my apologies for dropping out. I won't be thanking Telstra for this, but everybody else, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Boris. I appreciate it. I'm going to close the webinar off now. And just a reminder, if you wanted to watch a replay, it is on Facebook and will be on our YouTube channel through our webpage in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm coming, Boris, just one sec. I'm just trying to